Nadine Dorries claimed that there was a coup against Boris Johnson. She is, of course, wrong, but she was wrong about a great deal of stuff, and she didn't really do her work. There wasn't a coup against Boris Johnson. If there was any coup at all, it was probably against Theresa May. And why was that? Because of the internal divisions in the Conservative Party, in the ruling party, and these were not brought under control at any point. And the administration has effectively fizzled out in Rishi Sunak. So was there a coup? No. Was there a problem? Yes. Did that problem hinge on Brexit? Not entirely, but certainly that was the catalyst for the expression of catastrophe. And in any other situation, in any other administration, it would have been almost impossible to think that a Labour Party that had almost been wiped out at the ballot box would be in a position poised for the next administration. But it is almost inevitable now that the Labour Party will be in power within 18 months. And the front bench of the opposition party is looking increasingly like an administration waiting to take control, waiting for the ministerial cars, waiting for the red boxes. This has the same scent of inevitability that was around during the Callaghan government that I remember very clearly as Mrs. Thatcher was ushered into power. Very, very clear. And including the winter of discontent. The country is ready for change. Now, beyond that, we have to look at them. We have to look at the details, and the biggest detail, I think, the biggest thing that I have noticed is the level of arrogance that remains in Conservative ranks. And I use that word carefully because I don't want it to be misspelt. Conservative ranks. And the Conservative rankers, the ministers who are in office, are contemptuous of the public. I've written to Nadine Dorries and to her successor, the new Minister for Digital Culture, Media and Sport. And I will continue writing. And I hope when Labour get into power, they will pay attention and they'll finally see me. But the reality TV, in a way, facing the cost of living, facing national strikes, facing a very difficult Christmas, it seems a trivial point, except reality TV is becoming more and more dominant on our televisions, and I think the way reality TV people are treated is utterly wrong. And it's a consequence of the way the programmes are made. The programmes are made in such a way that there is a great deal of manipulation by production, and this continues long after production has closed. And more than that, the new Ofcom regulations enshrine that effectively in law for a further 18 months. So the people who are making the programmes own the people who are on the programmes. And those people are denied union representation because the union isn't interested. That's equity. I think that's wrong. And they also generally are denied artistic representation by agents and managers, unless they have their own, which is very unlikely. Fueling that further is the fact the majority of these reality TV programs, as I know, maintain the illusion that anybody in the public can get onto these programs, whereas in fact at least 60 to 70% of the people who are on the programs have been invited, have been headhunted. Now, program makers are there to make a good show, and for the most part they do that very well. They're there to create drama, and vulnerability is what makes television watchable. But we need to protect people. And the number of suicides and the number of instances of serious health scares connected to reality TV are enormous. And we need to help, and it's not simply a matter of producing psychological care. I can't think of any other business that you would enter, and then as a consequence of being in that business, you are then sent off to psychological support. That only suggests that the business itself is faulty if it's going to cause such stress. No, you need to have all that in place, and not just psychological support. You need to have professional support, independent professional support in place. And that professional support exists. It's called a union, it's called management or agencies who are independent of production. And giving production power after the cameras have stopped rolling is, in my opinion, just wrong. Because what production does is manipulate. That's what production does best. That's how it gets its results. And it shouldn't continue manipulating people after the cameras have stopped rolling. As simple as that. Now, there was an investigation. There was a committee in Parliament that looked into this, but it was truncated by Boris's calling an election. Yes, it was Boris who called the election in 2019. And it was never reformed. The majority of people who gave evidence were production people, and not people who had experienced the trauma of being on one of these programs. We need to turn this round. So yesterday I received a message, a second letter I'd got very, very tardily written from Julia Lopez, who's a junior minister in the Department of Digital Media, Culture and Sport. I'd asked to see the minister herself, and I got a letter pointing out regret. Sorry it's late, and it is regretful that due to substantial diary commitments I'm unable to meet with Professor Wilson, and I'd be grateful if you could pass on my sincere apologies for declining his request. Well, I didn't ask to meet with Julia Lopez. I asked to meet with her boss. I simply consider this level of arrogance and this level of contempt disgraceful, actually. And it goes on and on and on. I just trust that anybody who is trying to deal with a government ministry will have the tenacity to continue, because this government will fall. And the next one will be the one that you're talking to.